Hello and welcome back to Shulchan HaRav. We continue in Hilchos Netilas Yadaim, Siman Kuf Nun Tes, and we pick it up with Sif Dal. The Imnikiv Bekonis Mashke. If there's a hole in the vessel you want to wash from, and it's large enough, that if you push it into a bucket of water, water would be able to get in through that hole. That's no longer considered a kli in halacha. That's this kind of hole is larger than a hole which liquid could seep out of. If you then you push down on the vessel, the water going into that kli through that kind of hole is always going to be bigger than a hole that the liquid could seep out of because of the way pressure works. So then it's no longer a kli. The ein nightly menu, you cannot wash from this for liyadam. You can't wash your hands. I feel who machzik revius min lamata, even if the revius would fit into the kli from below the hole, it still doesn't work. Kimashi menu min lamata, because what's above the hole ain't a chashiv kli. It's no longer a kli. The nimsa she'ena mayim boim ayadim akli. So it comes out that when you're pouring it out, it's not being poured onto your hands from a kli. And even if there's no water above the hole at all the water's below the hole, still, when you now pour onto your hands through the part of the kli that is not a kli, the portion that's got the hole in it, that's not a kli. Through the existence of a kli, the water's not coming onto the person's hands. Because the hands are located near the opening of the kli, right? Meaning, if there was nothing above the kli, above the hole, that part of the kli, let's say it just didn't exist over there. And the mayim that you're pouring from below that area where the hole is, you're not going to, water never going to get onto your hands because it's like the part above doesn't even exist, right? Because if you would hold it where you're holding it now, close to the opening where the top part of the kli is, from where you're pouring it from above via the opening of the kli. It's like there's only a hole there now. Unless it would be okay if you would lift the bottom of the kli, you'd raise up the bottom of the kli higher than the opening, right? So then, even if above the hole is like it didn't exist, the water is getting from above to below through onto the person's hands, through the hole. So it's like you're using the hole is like the new exit point of the water. But but you'd have to have a very big kli to be able to hold enough water in the bottom part. But the same thing would apply. You don't raise up the bottom that high. But the hole is very close to the top of the kli. And the bottom part of the kli holds enough water that the flow of water will come onto the person's hands. That even if the portion of the kli that's above the hole from where the water is pouring does not exist, so that's going to be okay. But the parts of the vessel that's on the side of where the water is flowing, and it's preventing the water from spreading out around to the sides, which is not going on your hands, and then it would all go on your hands. Even though the prevention of this water from spreading sideways is something that's not from the kli itself, because you've like stuck something in there to keep the water flowing in the right direction. That's not a problem, and we'll explain that later. If you wash through the hole that was put in there, you could wash through that hole that's inside the vessel that's would make it normally not a kli, but since you're using that as the kli, that would be okay. As long as there is a revius' worth of water below that hole. And certainly it would be okay if you would break off the part that's above the hole, and now you've got just a vessel. As long as it's big enough to continue to be able to still hold a revius, that would also be considered a valid kli. You just made a smaller kli, but it's still big enough to hold the revius, so you could wash with it. Have a great day.